Welcome, listeners, to Real Wisdom with NK, the Midwest Film Festival's podcast exploring the journeys, insights, and lessons from filmmakers and creatives across the Midwest. So what are we focusing on today? The crucial role of post-production in filmmaking. How post shapes storytelling, evokes emotions, and enhances the cinematic experience. Do you wish there was a financial institution who understood your creative journey and catered to your unique needs as an artist? Well, look no further. Actors Federal Credit Union was created for the creative community, offering real support, reliable products and services, and banking with empathy. With lower loan rates, higher deposit rates, less fees, and nationwide ATM access, Actors FCU has your back every step of your journey. They've been serving the creative community for over 60 years and are here for you. Visit www.actorsfcu.com to learn more. Y'all, class was in session today with the peaceful power couple, Anna Christian and C. Ryan Stemple. They really got us present to how the process of post-production really starts in the writing process. And when we think of it that way, the way we create films and the art of post-production really comes together in a way that we didn't even know was possible. Anna Christian and C. Ryan Stemple are the co-owners of Journeywork Entertainment, a multimedia Chicago-based company specializing in film and video production and post-production services. They've both served as post-producers and the lead visual post team on several feature films. Anna is also an editor and the founder of Anacrity Post, an offline editorial in Daly's House, while Ryan is a colorist and digital intermediate producer, having previously founded the color and master delivery company, Quicksilver Color. Anna and Ryan just happened to be happily married, and in early 2025, Journeywork Entertainment acquired both Anacrity and Quicksilver in order to offer a streamlined, one-stop, all-in post service to feature films, commercials, branded content, corporate videos, network television, and short films. And I'm super excited to have what I call the peaceful power couple with me today from Journeywork. Hello.
Hello. Hi. I don't think we've ever been called peaceful before in our lives.
Yeah, that might be a
I
first.
like it.
And you know what? And I feel like everybody should feel this way about anybody that's going to handle their raw footage. I feel a peace that y'all got it.
Yeah.
So it makes, like, when I'm in your presence and when I sat down with you and I learned so much, I felt really peaceful. Though my mind was blown at how much I did not know, the fact that you did know it and felt like just really had a system for it. And I'm knowing that just from talking to you over coffee and then got to tour your space. I'm just like, oh yeah, there's a peace. So, and together, and to know that you not only work together, but are married and in love, not just married. And there's a difference between being married and being in love, and they are both, and I love to see it.
We spend 24 hours a day together, so.
Which means you have to. But before we get
really
any
have
further,
to.
let's introduce ourselves. Go ahead, Anna.
Hi, I'm Anna. I am an editor and the co-founder of Journeywork Entertainment and my own editing company, Anacrity Post. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm Ryan Stemple. I am the other co-founder of Journeywork Entertainment, and I also was the founder of Quicksilver Color, all located here in Chicago, Illinois. And yeah, we run Journeywork, Anacrity, and Quicksilver together now under one roof.
Oh, a peaceful roof. I'm telling y'all, I was in there. It's peaceful.
It's what we strive for.
And just a femme space, so many women in the space. I was here for everything y'all were doing. The reason I really wanted to bring you all on today, I was like, as a filmmaker, I think you're never an expert at the thing, you're always learning, right? I pride myself on like understanding the deep basics of what needs to get done and not necessarily how to do it all, but who to put in place to do it. Mm-hmm. And in having a conversation with you all, what I really got present to, the thing that I really have a growth edge around is definitely the post and editing process. And I really, really got present to how terrified I am of raw footage. I knew I didn't like it. I don't want to look at it, make it pretty, put it in a timeline and then show it to me. Yeah. I remember the first time I watched raw footage of my first film, I was like, oh, oh, what is this? We didn't get it. It's just trash. Because my body and brain couldn't understand that and translating it to what was happening. That being said, one, before we get into all the meat and potatoes of everything, I want to talk a little about your journey in your work, Journeywork, and how you got where you are.
I see where you
see what I did there?
I see what you did. It's interesting you start off with the feeling of hating your initial footage and seeing raw footage in its most original state and immediately going to, oh, I hate it. I hate this. I'm uncomfortable. I don't like how this looks, especially in the days now where we're in log footage with, ARRI log C and Red IPP2 looks like crap initially, right? And so you initially assume like, oh, I've failed in this. Our journey really started for the both of us in filmmaking in addressing that thing, which is dailies. And it's a thing that is really, really common for studio films and for network shows for, the big studios like NBC and Fox, but that independent producers don't usually get to take advantage of, largely from not understanding that it's a thing that you really should budget for in the first place.
So let's take it back a step and define what dailies are for folks that are just getting into this and don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so dailies is the process by which you take all your footage from set, you sync it with the audio, you apply basic color so it doesn't look scary and terrible.
So scary.
Yeah. And so usually you prep it both for the director and the producers to watch the rushes from set, so from the previous day and to inform the next day of shooting, but also you're prepping the files for editorial to go to the editor so they have the files for them to work with to start cutting. Because very rarely are you going to be working with the raw camera files in editorial.
Yeah, so you're syncing the audio, you're inputting the metadata, and by that I mean scene one, take one. Is it a tail slate? Is there no slate? Was it wild sync? And then writing down all of the problems that happened on set in a discrepancy report, assembling those all for viewing online and for use in editorial, and then sending all of that out to all the relevant parties, including the discrepancy report at the end of the day. And then along with that, Anna, you mentioned how part of that is also applying a basic, what we call a one light color pass to that. That is a conjunction of the show LUT, and by LUT, I mean a lookup table, which is just a predetermined color correction, effectively. It's a mathematical transformation that goes from logarithmic color to linear color and imparts some amount of contrast and creative color in there, but it's generally speaking a catch-all color correction for the show that ideally you've started making well before the shoot even starts with a colorist, someone like me, and the DP working in conjunction together to make a look that is going to be the baseline unified look. That gets applied to everything, and then the dailies operator will then say, well, this shot is a little bit more green than this shot from the reverse angle, and also the other angle is a little bit too bright. So we're going to unify those things together. And there may be notes that come in from set being like, we know this camera has a filter on it that skews a little bit red. Know about that, compensate for it. Or maybe they don't, and you have to make the decision on the fly to be like, what do I think is actually going to be the best thing to do for this particular scene, knowing what I do about the DP, about the director, their likes, their dislikes, etc.
And so would you call that, for those that are like, don't know what you're saying right now, Ryan, would we call that like a custom filter that's created ahead of time that you kind of put it through the first time? Could we say that? I know that's dumbing it way down, but kind of like what I'm hearing is a custom filter for this thing. It may change, but just so it doesn't look scary to you the first time you see it. Because I'm telling y'all, it looks like sad, dry toast if you ain't never seen it. It's terrifying.
It's very flat. Log footage is flat and desaturated and looks like crap. Right. And it's actually not wrong at all to call it a custom filter. In fact, if you go on Instagram and you flip through the filters are LUTs.
Oh, Oh.
That's what they are.
You see how we beat us learning stuff? That's every time. Just sitting down, I just love it. I love it. I had no idea. Learn something new. You had something you were going to say, Anna.
Yeah, so I was going to say that another reason why we do that at the daily stage is so when you get into editorial and you're cutting, if you have shots that don't quite match up for color, it's not bumping when you're watching the scenes back with the director and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm totally jarred. I'm taken out of it. And you're like, oh, I don't want to use that take because it looks weird with the rest of the footage. So part of doing that, one light color pass on dailies is so you don't run into that problem and it's not affecting the choices that you're making in the edit.
And it really is a problem that we've seen happen before with directors where they will literally not consider the best performance because it doesn't look immediately as good as the other shots.
Got it. So this brings us to why post-production is so wildly important. And not only why it's important, when in the process we should be bringing you all in, the editor, and understanding what post house it's going to go to. So let's talk about that. Let's get into it.
Yeah, absolutely. Another really crucial part of the dailies process and making sure that you actually have quick turnaround dailies is it's a good check to make sure that you got all the footage from set and everything's accounted for because you're spending so much money every day to film all of your scenes and getting all of your setups. And if for some reason one of the camera cards or a couple files didn't make it, onto the hard drive, we can flag that, because we have the camera reports, we have the script reports. We're like, oh, hey, this last file on this camera card, that might have been like your one take for the day that was perfect. And if it didn't make it onto the drive, and they reformat that camera card, that's lost forever. You don't have it. So it's really important to have that check, like somebody accounting for every single frame that you shot on set. We're verifying that we have it, it's backed up, it's properly processed.
Piggybacking off of that and directly answering your question, NK, of when do you bring a team like us on who's going to be doing something like full service post, right? Because that's what we kind of do with Journeywork combined with Anachrony and Quicksilver is we offer what is effectively dailies all the way through to final delivery. If you can get your team in place, your dailies team and your editorial team especially in place in pre-production, that allows you to know going in that you are working with a solid show lot. Your dailies operator is talking with your director and DP and your producers and knowing exactly who to talk to, who to be on the distro list, what the likes and dislikes of the DP is for, color balancing and contrast and all that jazz in terms of visual language. But then also that there's somebody to send the materials to for the edit so that the edit does not have to wait for wrap to happen. That the edit can start on day 2 of production. In a very ideal world, it starts either on day 2 or day 3, depending on if you're doing overnight dailies or next day dailies. It can start concurrently with the production. The reason why that's so critically important is exactly what Anna was saying is you can find out really, really soon if stuff's working or not.
Right.
If they're at a location for 7 out of 20 days and it's day 6 and the editor realizes, crap, we don't have enough wide shots of this place in the exteriors, or we really need this insert shot of this one really specific thing in this house, or man, we truly didn't get that one crucial action, guys, it's really not working for me. The editor can then get in touch with the producer, can get in touch with the director or the DP or somebody on set and just be like, guys, before you leave, please get this again. Consider getting this. Take a look at the dailies that we've been sending you and understand that we don't think it's working right now, or that we're missing something that that we're just now realizing wasn't in the shot list to get in the first place.
To properly tell the story.
That's only going to happen if you've got both your dailies person set up and your editor set up who's constantly editing the footage as it comes in. Theoretically, it could happen if you just have your dailies person and you're sending your dailies to the team and they're watching it diligently every single day and are able to extrapolate with the mind of an editor. but
I got tired just hearing that.
they're busy on set.
Yeah.
They got stuff
Literally.
to do.
So what I'm really hearing in this and thinking and planning in this way, you actually could save yourself a whole heck of a lot of money, because say you did miss something, instead of having to do insert shots and have to, have a second team come in and do a thing because 6 months later, because you realize down the road when you finally started editing that you didn't have what you needed, you're seeing in real time, right? So we're going to talk a little more about dailies in a moment, but I want to talk about what are some of the biggest and most common mistakes that you see filmmakers making when it comes to post?
Well, I think, not engaging your post team early enough would definitely, as we've already talked about, is a big part of it. And, having sound workflows and things like that. But I think, I want to talk a little bit more about engaging them early, because on a creative level, too, we're making art together. And, a director has a creative vision that, they want to execute with a film. And being able to collaborate with your post partners on what you're trying to achieve in your film. So if you're going for a specific editing style, or, a specific type of sound design, or a specific look for color, you can plan for that in pre-production of how best to execute that vision. So for example, if, as the editor, I'm reading the script in pre-production and there's no transitions planned, in the shot list, that's something I can throw up a flag about and be like, hey, what are our plans for transitions? Do we want to do anything cool here? Or, if a director says they want to cut it like an Edgar Wright movie, and I can look through the shot list and be like, okay, if you want to do this editing style, then we need to get this, this, and this. We need to shoot things like this.
Yeah, if you don't have any wet pans, good luck.
Yeah. So, it's tough to come in after it's already shot and be like, oh, cut it like this, but they haven't shot it like that. So we can come to it with the mind of, okay, it's our job to achieve this creative vision, but do we actually have the materials to execute that vision? So if we get inserted early enough, then we can help them build out the footage that can achieve that.
So I'm hearing you really say that you need to be thought of as a co-collaborator in this creative process.
In the production.
In the production, throughout the entire thing. Because I know we'd even talked about how you even get in at the script level when that's happening, and where the sausage is made at the very beginning, really getting in there.
I believe that every single aspect of post can benefit from being brought in at the script level too, because as a colorist, I'm very reference focused. I'm very let's build a look based on what we all can say we like. We can say, a director might say to me well, I'm a really big fan of Wong Kar-wai, but I also really like The Wire, and I'm kind of thinking of something in the middle between those two things. I'm like, okay, what does that mean? What do we then take the contrast of The Wire and mix that in with the glowy, emulsive look of a Wong Kar-wai movie? And are you going to incorporate the step emotion of Chungking Express? How does that? And I can start asking them questions like that, and they can start asking themselves well, do we build that in to the production, or do we address that in post-production? Jumping off of what you said about bringing people in early, I think for me, and this is related to that, setting up realistic expectations for timelines of how long post-production really takes, which is interrelated to how much money post-production really takes. Getting those expectations aligned with reality of what is doable and not just achievable in a raw sense, but in a sense of excellence. How long does it take to make a really good product in post-production? And Lord, the number of times we get we gotta hit the South by deadline. We've gotta hit the Sundance deadline, and they have 6 weeks. I'm like, can we get you something in 6 weeks when you didn't do dailies? You've just put your footage into Premiere and sunk the mix track and made dailies off of that. which means that we need to redo all the dailies before we can even start cutting, because if we don't do that, then post-audio won't have what they need down the line, and post-color won't have what they need down the line. Can we do something slapdash together? Yeah, sure. Are you going to get into Sundance this year? No. No
Not
way.
with this half job. Tell me from your perspective how the editing process really creates and is as important as the visuals that are actually shot on location. Like how that synergy works to really completely tell the story.
Absolutely. I think there's a famous saying, I don't remember who said it, but you make your film 3 times: when you write it with the script, when you shoot it, and then when you edit it.
Right.
So you're going to end up with something that looks probably a little bit different than how you originally imagined it on the script level and even on the shooting level. And so having a partner in the room that can help you make the version of the film that you actually captured and make it the best version of the film. And there is a bit of discovery in the editing process of what is the best version of the film that you actually captured. It's funny that one of the first things you said was our Journeywork is a peaceful place, because I always make a joke that editorial is like ground zero. It's like the therapy couch where, like you hate your movie at first, you come in and it's like, oh my gosh, this is not what I wanted at all. It's a mess. And, and so much of that process is just like you break it all down to the studs and, you have a little bit of therapy to like work through like all of the trauma from set. Because let's face it, there's no set that didn't have some sort of drama or trauma, or that one awful day that was like, oh my gosh, I hate this whole scene because I remember how awful that day on set was. The number of times I hear that, in the editorial process, and it's funny. I feel like that's such a big part of it, is helping people fall in love with their film again and finding the best version of it.
If you're listening and not watching, I'm literally like, I have tears in my eyes. I'm just like, oh, the trauma of it all. It's literally an extreme sport, and people don't get it until they do. And there will always be the day, like, even if you watch it in the movies, wherever you are, you see, like, I remember when we shot that scene. You remember what happened back, blah, blah, blah. And like, in Crafty, this happened, mine, then such and such forgot their shirt. And there's just always something. And the car broke down, and then the guy came out with no shirt on, and he wasn't even in the scene. There's just always something crazy. And you're so right. And y'all get to capture all of that, like the pieces that are left of the human being by the time they get to you, and hopefully the full script shot and ready to be edited.
Yeah. You'd be surprised how often those little things make it into the edit in terms of, what a director or producer brings to it. I've had folks be like, oh, that extra pissed me off on set today. I don't want to see them. Like it happens. And so having someone that's like a little bit removed and has a little bit of distance from that to be like, hey, I know that person pissed you off on set, but we really need this shot, or like, this is, this is the way we really need to cut it for the movie, and it's funny having kind of those moments, but it's really surprising how close people are to the material, and really having somebody that can look at it with some distance, I feel like is so crucial.
Thank God for y'all. You had something, right?
Oh, I was just going to say, conversely, color grading, I coined this with our good friend Brittany Ward. Color grading is like spa day for your movie. If editing is like therapy, color grading is like spa day.
Oh, we love it. Y'all see what I said about the peaceful power couple. One, get your spirit right, get your nervous system regulated, and then the other one spit shines you, and you're ready to go by the end of it. It's so good.
Yeah, we come in with hot rocks and a foam roller, and we get it looking great.
There you go. What are some of the biggest challenges that you face in your jobs, and how do you navigate those?
I mean, we love what we do.
Right. I'm sure. But,
and I mean, that can be a challenge in itself. Is like, if you really, really love what you do and you spend most of your time with it, with your romantic partner as well, doing the same thing, it can be a little bit tempting to go toward perfectionism, especially if the material is troublesome in some way. And by troublesome, I just mean like you're not quite sure how to fit these puzzle pieces together, and you know that the puzzle pieces fit, but it's a quandary, and you're not quite there, and you're not quite satisfied with it. That's probably the thing that keeps me in the office longer than anything else. Is the job is done. The grade for me, if it's a color grade, the color grade is done. I've filled in every shot. I have completed the labor, and sometimes I will look back and watch it down and say, not good enough. And I will do it again. Not always from scratch. Not always.
I could see that. And so then what do you do to kind of mitigate those things or come back to the middle and find that balance?
Have a trusted partner that you can call into the room and say, honey, am I crazy, or is this good enough or not? Please tell me, because I'm going insane.
It's almost always good enough.
I'm
And
sure.
more than good enough. It's excellent. But it's funny, I find myself in this position frequently because that's also a quandary that a lot of directors and producers find themselves in the post-process, is you can iterate and iterate endlessly.
Right.
You know, and knowing when to say, yup, this is the version, we're done, we're running with it. Yeah, talking folks through when to be done with their movie, it's a challenge because everybody wants it to be perfect, and us included, but recognizing that art will never be perfect. There's no such thing as perfection, and helping shepherd people towards a place where it's like, this is the best that we can do with the resources we have, with what was captured, and allowing it to live in its imperfect but complete state.
Got it.
Sometimes it's also about learning to speak the language, the particular visual language of the people involved, because what we do is an intersection of technical engineering and artistry at the same time. And a lot of people who go into filmmaking are very versed with the artistry and the theory and what they see in their mind's eye, but are not versed in the technical know-how of how to directly implement it, which is why we exist in the first place, right?
Right.
So we need to find a way to bridge that gap, and usually it's with creating a vocab that is unique to that director, to that DP, interfacing with you on that day with this project. I once had a guy, this was years and years ago, for an advertisement, and his one direction to me was like, I want it to look silver. And I was kind of perplexed by that. I'm like, okay, what does silver mean to you? Do you mean gray? He's like, no, just sleek and silvery. I'm like, okay, so maybe cooler, bluer with a little bit of shine? He's like, yeah, but not so blue, just cool. I'm like, okay, all right. And so we had to work it out and find out what he meant by that particular word. I've had another DP, God bless him, wanted me to make it look like butter. And I'm like, I'm here, man. We're gonna work this out together. We're making Butterworld, and we called it Butterworld.
And did you get there, and what did Butterworld look like?
Butterworld looked like butter. It looked
yellow?
It looked like slightly cheesy yellow, but with green, slightly green undertones, with a little bit woody. I'm using the words that me and Ross developed when we were doing this. Yeah.
So where do you really balance the instinct of the director and what they're wanting, and then your technical know-how of how to kind of get there, or just know that ooh, that is definitely never gonna work? Because I mean, also, you never want to say something's not going to work. Nobody wants to hear that. But then there's also this level of having the technical know-how of asking for something that is like, boo boo, you're not Selena, I can't make you her. That's not, something like, I'm not a magician.
The line between technical limitations, and like feasibility, in technical limitations. It's never an easy conversation.
Yeah.
I think it's sometimes more doable in my line of work in color. You can you can squeeze a lot of juice out of an image in terms of
A lot of butter.
and you can squeeze a lot of butter out of that milk. That's where butter comes from.
Yeah, or a
you
cow.
gotta squeeze. You got. I don't know how butter is made, but
I know there's a cow involved that then leads to the milk.
You
that
churn
leads to
it.
butter. And churn it. You strain it.
I
know way too
remember
much about
in
making
kindergarten,
butter.
I had the little baby food thing with the marble, and then you shake it.
Until,
Yeah.
and then you put it on a saltine.
Yeah.
That was the best day.
It was the best day.
The butter was so bomb.
I will tell you, I think about that day about once a week.
I just got goosebumps thinking about that day. That was I can imagine myself in my kindergarten room in the corner having my butter moment. Okay, we're back.
Big butter moment.
We were having our butter moment with the Gerber jar. It was a thing, and the saltine and the way the salt hit on the cracker with the fresh butter. Oh, you know what I'm talking about. Y'all know what I'm talking about.
talking about. Wow.
Yeah, we
It's
went
not
there.
so easy in editorial, though.
Yeah, how you do that, Anna? How do you do that? We're making butter over here. What's happening over there?
There's a lot of value in showing folks what they think they want.
Ooh,
because
come on, say that. I think that could go outside of the editing room.
Yeah, if I have time, sometimes I'll prep two versions. I'll prep the version that I know they want to see, and then I'll prep the version that I think is a better choice.
She said, I got time today to do this for y'all.
But you'd be surprised how frequently you show folks what they think they want to see, and then they'll watch it and they're like, oh, nope, yep, you're right, that's not working. What else you got? So it's helpful if you have the time to prep something ahead of time, be like, I got you, try this version. But yeah, the process is different with every person. I think that's one of the challenges, but chief joys of working with folks, or, about the job in general, is building a unique relationship with each collaborator, because knowing what that push and pull dynamic is, and it's different with every single person. So there's some folks that, you have a rapport built up where you can be very candid and be like, yeah, no, this isn't working at all. But then other people you have to be a little more gentle with, and, really sussing out what that dynamic is going to be like for each individual collaborator, and meeting them where they're at. It's challenging, but really fun. It's a part I really enjoy, because, you take each person as an individual, and, their project as an individual. And so in the same way, when you're trying to weigh options in the creative and in, editorial and things like that, it's really like a situational basis of like knowing when you might be hitting like a trigger point, or, something that they're sensitive about, treading carefully in some places, or knowing, oh, well, they're not super precious about this scene. So, you can push a little harder here of, they're not going to be as sensitive to it.
So Anna is essentially saying that she is also a therapist and a facilitator, and we love this. And I'm curious to know, on that same point, how do you ready yourself to go into these sessions, to have these sometimes tough conversations? And also, what have you done to sharpen your skills on trusting your instinct of making that second cut that you just know is going to be better?
Yeah, I think establishing a rapport as early as possible with folks. I mean, again, the earlier we're brought in, the more we can have conversations and start building trust before we have to get into the ground zero therapy that is editorial.
Yeah, we move at the speed of trust, right?
Absolutely. But I always like to have a really like open and vulnerable conversation with creatives when we start a project, and just let them know, like, I'm always coming from a place of wanting to, uplift their creative vision first and foremost, and do what's best for the film. And that, I'm not bringing any ego into it. I don't have any kind of like personal creative agenda on their film. And even just telling people that, I think, is really reassuring, because, I think there are some folks that fear losing control of their project, or having people come in and, insert too many, ideas that pull the project away from the original vision. So I always make sure that I reassure folks at the beginning of a project of like, I'll never try to do that. Anything that I bring to the table as ideas, or, thoughts about how we might change things up, it's really just in service of what their vision is and what the best move for the project is. So I like to have a discussion about, what exactly they're trying to achieve with their film. What's the feeling that they want the audience to be left with? What's the message of the film? Like, what's the underlying, reason for making the thing? And even if the form changes a little bit throughout, keeping, that at the heart of it, of like, what's the heart of your project, and everything we do is geared towards uplifting that. And I think having those kinds of like frank conversations at the beginning makes it easier to approach when we get to, a difficult choice about what to do with it, knowing that it's not coming from a like me trying to tell somebody what to do, or, trying to insert myself or step on any toes. It's like, hey, just as a like, somebody with some distance from the project and an outside perspective, here's some options to consider. And, through the course of just like, you spend a lot of time with an editor in the room. And, I like to just talk to people while we're working and really build up like a friendship and a rapport with folks that, again, it just builds up a level of trust to where when it comes to making those hard decisions, you have a really solid foundation.
So good. Do you have anything to offer there, Ryan?
There's another angle to preparing yourself for what to expect of a session too, that is less on the artistic vision side of things and more on the business management side of things, and knowing what the flavor of project that's coming in, how that can dictate the running of the room on the day. Like, for what I mean by that is, if we're talking about an independent short film or feature film, this is going to be a very collaborative process where, generally speaking, a director and producer and DP want your active input in a very artistic way, and they're generally speaking not going to be hyper minutia detail oriented. We're going to be talking about the grander picture. And maybe I'm like specifically talking about color grading here, but I also think that even in all aspects of post, it's a little bit less super duper fine detail for independent cinema, versus if I know that I'm going into an advertisement for color or for edit, I need to prep myself for a team of people coming in, the copywriter, the creative director, the artistic director, the producer, and maybe the agency people, and maybe their client, the agency's clients, who are the ultimate client of the product in the room, right?
And a puppy.
And a puppy, all having a say, including the puppy.
Including the puppy, mainly the puppy.
And you gotta be ready, and I am gonna speak specifically about color grading for commercials right now. You've gotta be ready to work 8 hours on 30 seconds of footage. And that's just the way, and very often you will just like, you'll be like, this is great. Can we change the color of their eyes a little bit? Can we add some contrast to the logo on the shirt? Can we bring up the shadow on this side of their face? All of that stuff is great and fine. You just gotta prepare yourself for that level of detail going in, and then continue to say, it's their thing. They're paying me.
They're paying
me by the hour. They're paying by the hour.
So what I'm hearing Ryan saying, you just got to get your mind right to go in there for that particular. Got to get your mind right.
Ideally, having a therapy session with an editor.
Have a little therapy sesh and be ready to do the things. I want to circle the block back to the dailies conversation, because that was one that really blew my mind when I sat down and talked to y'all about it. Because from my perspective, there was only something that was only reachable for the, the Shy and the Bear and whomever else, like not for an independent film. And what I'm hearing you saying in the conversations that we've had since then, sitting here today, is that no, that's something that you specifically at your company have created a package to make that more accessible. And that's one of the things that I really love about you all in Journeywork. Oh, you are such champions for independent filmmakers and a sponsor of the Midwest Film Festival, championing us for years. So part of the reason we're able to do our work is because they believe in us and other independent spaces that believe in us, and we're in this thing together. So that being said, knowing that you all have created something to make this more reachable, and for filmmakers that are starting out or somewhere that don't think they have the budget for it, actually can streamline their process, really get the creative vision that they had envisioned for themselves and didn't even think was possible right now. So tell us a little more about that.
you mentioned how you assumed that dailies was only approachable by network shows like The Chi. Part of the reason why that assumption is how long the traditional network dailies process really actually lasts. So in a traditional network show, the dailies person will come in a little bit after lunch is called. Let's say it's a 7 a.m. call. You have lunch at 12, 1 o'clock, something like that. The dailies operator will come in around 2 or 3 p.m. to get in the first drop of footage. And they're going to start processing that immediately so that they can make sure that they can get that stuff done as fast as possible. And then they wait. They wait around all day long for the next on the clock all day long for the next drop of footage to come in, which comes in after wrap. Really often after transportation has delivered all of the above the line people home. And the drive with the footage comes from transportation. So on a 7 a.m. call time, the wrap drop will come in at 8:30, 9 o'clock, and that PM.
Right.
Yes, and then the dailies operator then needs to continue on that second drop, organize all of that footage together, send it all out to wherever it's going. Very often that'll be Los Angeles, New York. We are really hoping to change that.
We
in
are
post-production.
changing that.
Yeah. And that will last until about 1, 2, 3 in the morning, depending on how long the transfers take, depending on how long it takes to render everything out and assemble all the bins and put up the stuff onto DAX and Pix and Frame.io and wherever it's going to be going. Yeah. And one of the key things to remember here is it's dailies in this traditional context is dictated by when production wraps. And it flows with the wrap and call time of production. Say, for example, you're on a really big, high pressure, very often overtime show. I did 2 seasons on Empire, and Empire was a very, very taxing, very brilliantly made show that very often went into overtime. And we would have weeks where the Monday call was 7 a.m. and the Friday call would be 3 p.m., 5 p.m., which means that for a dailies operator, their call would be around 2 or 3 p.m. if they don't have an assistant who's ingesting the first drop for them. In this instance, if you have a 7 a.m. call time, if a dailies operator doesn't have an assistant, they're coming in on Monday at 2 p.m., 3 p.m. They're coming in on Friday at Saturday morning. It can be really taxing.
And then they're working overtime on the weekend.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
basically, they're spending a lot of unnecessary money is what I'm hearing, and you've created a streamlined system where you don't have to.
Yeah, and it depends on what you call unnecessary too, because
True.
Because if they need to get to make sure that their investment is sound at the very fastest way possible, then yeah, that's definitely the very fastest way possible to make sure that your multi-million-dollar investment is sound.
True story. You're
However, it comes at a financial and human cost. Anna and I both did dailies for several years, and we still have trouble sleeping because it's not just third shift. It's third shift where very often you are jet lagged multiple times throughout the week. And it really screws a person up to be a consistently operating dailies operator. What we've done at Journeywork is, especially for independent films, independent feature films and short films and commercials that can afford 1 day offset, we receive in, at the end of the day, a drive is delivered, usually to our house directly. We will then come in on the morning at 9 a.m., 10 a.m., and process the footage. And it will take us about 4 to 5 hours. do the
versus your
footage.
standard like network dailies, which you're looking at 12 to 16 hour shifts.
Got it.
Yeah.
And ultimately have the opportunity to save you a whole heck of a lot of money if you catch something that might have been missed.
A whole heck of a lot of money, and we don't overtax our personnel. And it has been my experience that if you create an atmosphere in the office where people are not extended to their very most limits, you get better work out of them consistently anyway.
Period. I have nothing else to say to that, but period. My last question for you, and really, I guess, a call to action for our listeners. Why is it so important to have high quality post-production to tell your story powerfully? And why is it so important to prioritize that in your budget only always? Who'd like to go first?
I mean, you said the Q word for me, quality.
Yeah.
I think a lot about what is quality. I constantly go back to Robert Persig, who wrote Zen, the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, which is really just a treatise on the metaphysical idea of what is quality. It's a thing that we can all agree we know what quality is, and yet it is almost impossible to define what it is empirically, right? Mm-hmm. So when you ask, why is it so important to have high quality post-production? It's because that's kind of what post-production is supposed to be in essence, is deriving the highest amount of high quality out of the existing footage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think you mentioned something earlier about our jobs are really the intersection of technical knowledge and creative knowledge. And a lot of people have the creative knowledge, and a lot of the tools are easily accessible for most people. You know, a lot of people know how to use basic editing software, but having the technical knowledge that can get you a viable product, you know, if you want to distribute, if you want to screen at a film festival, if you want to distribute to, you know, VOD or, you know, beyond, if you want to have a theatrical release, like there has to be a certain level of technical soundness that makes it a viable product, and bringing in that expertise, and also like additional tools that aren't, you know, as immediately accessible as, you know, your basic editing software that most people are, you know, basically familiar with. There's just like an extra like level of expertise that you can bring to help, you know, make that more viable.
Yeah, there's quality in terms of like, is this a pleasant shot to look at? Is this a edit that moves with rhythm and I feel the emotional resonance? And then there's quality of workflow, quality of technical standards, quality of the team involved understanding that you have positioned yourself to have budgeted for the right things so that you can sell to international distribution eventually.
Yeah. Make a viable product that you can be proud of and actually sell if you want to. If you want to. You want us to keep it in your basement, we're not stopping you. Thank you all so much for being here today and for sharing your expertise. I'm not done with you yet. We're going to spill some tea and we're going to talk about some of the crash and burns that you have seen over the years. You ain't got to name no names. Pero if you want to, we won't stop you. Also, for those of you who are like, I want to be a colorist, I want to be an editor, we're going to talk about that a little bit too, because I feel like some of y'all are listening as well. And these are the perfect people to tell you a little bit how you can get into that industry. All right, y'all, another lovely episode of Learning Things That Blow Your Mind and Make You a Better Filmmaker. And if you're curious, have more questions, want to know how you can find out more about Midwest Film Festival, the podcast, and the incredible people that make it all happen, go to MidwestFilm.com. Make sure to become a member so that you can get access to Tea Time with me, sign up for our newsletter, and make sure you don't miss out on our monthly screenings. I know, you heard that right. The last Monday of every month, you can find us live at the Claudia Cassidy Theater located in the heart of Chicago at the Chicago Cultural Center. So we'll see you next time at Real Wisdom with NK and at a monthly screening. Now, if you want to hear us spill tea, stick around and head to MidwestFilm.com for our exclusive after-show content, Tea Time with NK, because the real talk happens after the episode. Let's be serious. So make sure you follow, subscribe, and share the show with someone who needs the scoop. Until next time, stay curious, stay bold, and as always, keep it real.